Hey, welcome back everybody, 6 Foot Hacks here. Happy for you guys today, the CCL-D-League Week 4. Now, I want to say, first off, hopefully all of you guys had a good Christmas. For those of you who celebrated, hopefully everybody is enjoying the holidays so far. Now, my idiotic self decided to live record this without the audio being picked up because I had this match right after I finished streaming for about 3 hours, so I was already a little bit tired, and then I guess I just forgot to check the mic and it didn't record, so I live narrated this entire match, which was like 40 minutes long, I think, and yeah, no audio. So again, I apologize, but I will have to do this post-commentated. I'm hoping for week 5, by damn week 5, I'll be able to do these live for you guys. But if you have been enjoying the run of the Durham Druddigons in the CCL-D League, make sure to hit the like button down below, guys. The support is greatly appreciated. And leave a comment about anything. What did you guys get for Christmas? I'm interested to know what you guys may have got for the holidays. If you just want to tell me hi, how's it going, just, I don't know. I really appreciate it when you guys leave comments and you leave likes, because it means a lot to me, and it proves to me that you guys are enjoying the content, which I hope you're enjoying either way if you watch it. But just, yeah, enough rambling. So if you're looking at the squads that I have and my opponent might have, the coach of the Tampa Bay Mantines, we actually have a pretty decent matchup this week, which is very nice because the last couple of weeks we've had some very tough games. So let's take a look at what I will be bringing. First off, we have Juliet the Jolteon, Corbin the Cabellion, Tomas the Tangrowth, Jasmine the Reuniclus, Melcher the Mamoswine, and Munchies the Munchlax. So this is more or less what I expected Mike to want to bring. Zapdos, because obviously I have a pseudo rain team, so Zapdos could prove to be a huge issue. Whimsicott could either be brought, or he'll probably bring one of his other 2 grass types, which is Shiinotic or the Tessarina. Either way, I don't expect them to bring more than 1 grass type. Keldeo and Latios, I think, are probably the 2 biggest threats to us in this matchup. Latios, obviously, because we don't have a dragon immunity, although we do have Corbin the Cabellion. Obviously Latios can just hit us with a psychic, so that is going to be something I'm going to have to watch out for. If he doesn't have Psyshock, he'll definitely have psychic, but I'm expecting this to be either a choice specs variant or a life orb variant of offensive Latios, because I don't think Calm Mind would do too well against us in this match. Bisharp, honestly, Bisharp shouldn't be a problem unless he gets up a Swords Dance or he somehow gets his Defiant boosted. So as long as I can prevent that from happening, then Bisharp should be dealt with accordingly. Outside of that, then that's the only way Bisharp would be a huge threat. But Keldeo, if Keldeo is choice specs with the proper predictions, could potentially destroy any combination of 6 Pokemon that I want to bring. So I really have to watch out for Keldeo. Mew is another issue. If it is the bulky supportive set, then it's going to be very annoying to deal with, just because I don't have a good dark type to deal with it outside of my Hydreigon, which doesn't really have that good of a matchup in this game. But anyways, first off, we have here Juliet the Jolteon, rocking a nice modest nature, enough speed to outspeed timid max speed. Latios Shadow Ball will 100% 2-hit KO any non-Spadef invested variant of Latios, and as long as he doesn't have a Calm Mind up, then we should still be able to 2-hit KO him. If he does turn out to be a bulky Calm Mind set, that is the main reason why I have Toxic. Toxic is also for Mew, which again, Mew, if it is the supportive bulky set, could be very annoying to deal with, so I have to watch out for that. Volt Switch is really only here for us being able to gain momentum. Also, with 72 defensive E's, we do have a chance to live a Adamant Max Attack Life Orbed Sucker Punch from Bisharp, so that's something that's really good if it does come down to it, and then I can just Volt Switch on out of it and then go from there. But of course, my main way to deal with the Bisharp is Corbin the Cabellion here. As long as he doesn't get up to +4 and I'm not in below like 60 or 70% HP, then there's no way Bisharp should be able to beat us. Even if he gets to +2, as long as I'm above like 50-60% HP, we should be in a pretty okay scenario to still take a Sucker Punch and in return just Oko him with the close combat. But Corbin is basically here to be our pivot mon and our main answer to Bishop. Toxic, of course, is just mainly for the Mew, because again, if he is supported Mew, I have enough speed to outspeed max speed Jolly or timid Mew. If he does for some reason bring that, then I can Toxic it, and then if he doesn't have Heal Bell on anything, then I'll be able to eventually wear it down and beat it 1v1. Stealth Rocks, of course, because I don't want to have rocks on Mamoswine, because Meltzer's rocking a pretty cool set, which I'll get into. But Stealth Rocks, of course, are the most important move in the game. Then Volt Switch is here to be able to gain its momentum, and Close Combat is for stab. I did originally have Iron Head on Cobalion, but I changed it up to Toxic because after I made the team, I realized that holy shit, Mew absolutely destroys me if he's the supportive set. And I did also add Toxic to Jolteon over Thunderbolt because I really didn't feel the need to have Volt Switch and Thunderbolt. And plus, with him having Seismitoad, Grass Knot will 100% 2 KO any variant that he has, so I'm really not worried about it. And I don't really have too much use for Thunderbolt over Toxic the more that I thought about it, because Toxic has more benefits, because we can also poison Zapdos if he does decide to bring it, which I'm pretty sure he is going to bring, or we can even Toxic the Tessarena or something like the Bruxish for whatever reason, but you guys get what I mean. Even Beware, if he wants to bring Beware, we can poison that as well. So moving down the line, we have good old Tomas the Tangrowth. I think Tomas has come to every match so far, and that is because Tangrowth is an absolute monster. So as long as he doesn't catch me with a hidden power super effective from Keldeo, then there's no way outside of him getting really lucky that he could 2 KO Tangrowth. Basically, Choice Specs Timid Hydro Pump and Choice Specs Timid Sacred Sword only have about a 30% chance to be able to 2 KO Tangrowth after rocks. So unless he hits 2 absolute high damage roll Hydro Pumps, then there's no way he's gonna be able to knock me out, or again, unless he catches me with a super effective hidden power, which in that case I can then just pivot around it to recover back the HP on my Tangrowth. Leech Seed is going to be very helpful in this game, because anytime I do switch into Keldeo, I'll be able to force him out if he's not a Life Orb variant. Then I can Leech Seed whatever comes in, and then I'll be able to gain back HP on my Tangrowth, switch out with Regenerator, and gain HP on whatever I switch into that Pokemon that is Leech Seeded. Knockoff is really helpful in this game because I hit Latios, and I'm going to be able to knock off a potential Rindo Berry on Seismitoad if he wants to stay in, because I will probably knock off directly against Seismitoad, because there's a chance he's not going to stay in with the Seismitoad against a Tangrowth, because there's nothing Seismitoad can do to Tangrowth. So if it comes down to it, I can knock that off. I can knock off lefties from Zapdos. I can knock off a Choice Scarf potentially, or a Life Orb. Giga Drain, of course, is for stab, and then Brick Break is literally only for Bishop. Like, I originally had Earthquake on this, but even though yes, Earthquake would hit Zapdos after the Roost, I can just Leech Seed it, knock off it, and then pivot around it with my Reuniclus and my Munchies here to be able to deal with it. So Brick Break has way more benefits than what Earthquake would have otherwise. Plus Brick Break, I think, has a chance to OHKO Bisharp, or it does like 80%. So if he's Life Orb, he's only going to have like 2 Life Orb. After 2 Life Orb hits, I'll be able to finish him off with the Brick Break, or put him in range of where he'll knock himself out after 2 Life Orb hits after Brick Break, which is really good. So next off, we have Jasmine the Reuniclus, and yes, you are reading this correctly. I have Hidden Power Fighting because I'm not a man, and I do not want to miss Focus Blast. And another reason why I have Hidden Power Fighting is because it's only for Bisharp. Like, there's no other reason that I need to have Focus Blast for outside of Bisharp, which cannot OHKO me with knockoff thanks to the fact that I have Cobra Berry, unless he gets up a Swords Dance, which even then I think is a roll, or it's a roll that is not in my favor regardless. So I will be able to chew 1 knockoff with the Cobra Berry that is not boosted. Even if he is Adamant Life Orb, it only does about 50% thanks to the Cobra Berry. And then the minimum damage of Hidden Power Fighting to Bisharp is 101%, unless he has something like the Chople Berry, or if he turns out to be Assault Vested, which if he is one of those 2 sets, then Bisharp at that point really isn't that scary unless I trigger his Defiant, which I shouldn't, so I'm not worried about it. But then Calm Mind is just to be able to potentially set up late game and win. I don't quite remember why I had Psychic over Psyshock, but I think it's just that it did a little bit more damage to the Beware if he did want to bring Beware. Or if he brought Mew, I was expecting it to be more of a physically mixed defensive set as opposed to specially defensive set. But even then, if it is defensive, he should have Taunt. So yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have had the Psyshock. Next off, we have good old Assault Vest Snorlax here. This thing is an absolute monster, and I forgot to change this up to Thick Fat during the match. Luckily though, it didn't really come into play at all, but it is supposed to be Thick Fat. But I mean, I guess if he had something like Toxic on Seismitoad, or another one of his mons that could potentially carry Toxic like Zapdos, then having immunity actually wouldn't have been too bad, because then he wouldn't have been able to Toxic us. But this moveset is actually pretty cool. We have Body Slam for stab and for spreading paralysis. C-Bomb does more damage to the Bruxish, and it does obviously more damage to the Seismitoad because it is 4 times super effective, which are the only really 2 mons that I need C-Bomb for. Brick Break straight Oko's Bisharp, which with these defensive Vs and these HP Vs, there's no way that a neutral knockoff will be able to finish off Snorlax. The next move I have is Gunk Shot, because we're going to be able to do a lot of damage to Whimsicott, Tessarina, and Shiinotic. I can also try and Gunk Shot Latios or Zapdos if I want to try to be able to poison them. And the Speedy Vs are just to be able to outspeed Shiinotic, same reason why I have a couple Speedy Vs on Reuniclus. Then finally off, we have good old Scarfed Meltzer the Mamoswine making his return after last week. I brought Scarfed Mamoswine and I decided to bring it again this week because it actually does have a really good matchup. We have enough speed to outspeed Timid Max Speed Whimsicott, which I don't think he's going to want to bring, but either way we're going to be able to outspeed it. And then if he does knock off the Choice Scarf, we have enough speed to outspeed Adamant Bisharp by 5 points, which is really good. And Icicle Spear is mainly if he has sub Calm Mind Latios, which if he does have sub Calm Mind Latios, then that shouldn't be too big of an issue because we will be able to break the substitute with 1 hit, and then if we get more than 2 hits, we should be in an okay scenario. Earthquake, of course, is for our stab in the ground type. Icicle Crash is another really good ice type stab. Of course, this is the main ice type stab for Mamoswine, which is going to be able to do a lot of damage to whatever Mike wants to bring. And then knockoff is really just for coverage if I need to knock off leftovers or an item on something. But one thing that I want to say going into this match, as we all know, Showdown likes to do this thing where it gets rid of your EVs on Pokemon. And my Mamoswine, unknowingly to me until after I finished the match, had no attack EVs in this game. So I went into this match with just an adamant natured Mamoswine. Now the good thing is that it doesn't play a role at all. Like, it doesn't play a role at all because I was able to put myself in scenarios where it really didn't hurt me if I had max attack or not. Although it would have been really nice to have max attack in a certain scenario or two, but I'll discuss those when we get into the actual battle. But yeah guys, that is the quick run through of the team. Let's go ahead and get this match started. Alright, so I had to mess around with the settings a bit, but everything should be good, and I hope you guys do like this Showdown layout. This is something I used to use back in the day, but the sprites got messed up, but they've recently been fixed. So let me know if you guys like this as opposed to the regular Showdown layout. I personally like this a whole lot better because I think it's a little bit easier to the eyes because it's dark, and I really like how it's set up. But if you didn't see the team building portion of the video, then too bad, because he didn't bring what I thought he would bring. I didn't expect him to bring double water in Seismitoad and Keldeo, but it kind of makes sense because obviously I do have a Pelipper and I have a Kabutops and a Kingdra, so he probably brought... I just stuttered. Why did I stutter that? He probably brought Seismitoad for my Kabutops, and then the double grass obviously because he probably thought I would bring my Kingdra. So the double grass types are going to be a little bit annoying, but they shouldn't be too hard for me to deal with. As long as one of them doesn't have a status move, then it shouldn't be that hard for me to deal with them. Keldeo, of course, can only be a threat if it's spexed and with the proper predictions. Outside of that, I should be able to deal with it accordingly. Bisharp is only a problem if he gets up to +2 with Zord's Dance, or if I somehow activate his Defiant, which obviously I'm going to try not let happen. And then Latios, I need to find out if it's offensive or defensive, or it could be supportive, I guess, but I think supportive Latios would probably be a very bad set for this matchup, so I was leaning more towards him being offensive or a bulky calm mindset. Alright, so I'm going to be leading off with my Tangrowth, as he's going to be leading off with the Latios. I did want to lead off with my Cobalion, but obviously the problem with that is that if he led off with the Whimsicott, Toad, Keldeo, or Latios, then I would have an absolutely bad lead matchup. So Tangrowth, you're going to see that Tangrowth is an absolute monster in this matchup, which is really, really good because he did... Alright, so he's going to be leading off with the Latios, as I'm going to be leading off with the Tangrowth. So I don't want to stay in and take a potential Specs Draco, so I'm going to pull a switch into my Snorlax here, as he's actually going to double switch into his Bisharp, and I'm going to go straight for the Brick Break on the off chance that he wanted to stay in and try to go for the knockoff, thinking that he could knock me out, but he actually ends up switching into his Tessarina right off the bat, and I do get a crit turn 2, although I don't think that crit really ends up mattering too much. I'm just going to sit in here and try to go for the Gunk Shot to see how much damage it'll do to him, and even at -1, I could potentially 2-hit KO him, but the problem with that is that of course I would need to hit 2 Gunk Shots in a row. So I'm going to take this chance to bring in my Cobalion, which he shouldn't be able to do anything to me, and even if he does have a super effective move against me, it's not going to be stab, and I'm very bulky, so I'm going to take this chance to get on my rocks. Now I do know that Tessarina can learn Rapid Spin, and the reason why I went straight for the rocks and not the Toxic right away is because I wanted him to Rapid Spin, and then that turn that he Rapid Spun, I could hit him with the Toxic, and then I would still be able to get on my rocks later if I was able to. So he's going to go for the Play Rough, and he misses. That wouldn't have done any damage to me, considering that I am very bulky. It's not stabbed and it's neutral. So I'm going to go for the Volt Switch here because I don't want to get hit with another Trop Kick, and I don't want to take any unnecessary damage. As he brings in the Seismitoad, I'm going to switch into my Tangrowth, and this could have been a little bit risky because if he did have something like the Scald or the Toxic, this would have been his perfect chance to go for it, but he ends up going for the Drain Punch, which for one, the Drain Punch is not something I was expecting at all on the Seismitoad, so I'm thinking that he probably doesn't have Toxic if he's got Drain Punch, and above that, if he does want to stay in here, I can straight knock him out with the Giga Drain or activate his Rindo Berry, which, like I said, in the team building process, it's going to be a lot better for me to just go straight for the knockoff instead of going straight for the Giga Drain, as I'm going to be able to knock off the incoming Tessarina. He no longer has his leftovers, which is really good because this is going to be a lot easier for me to beat 1v1, as I'm going to switch into my Cobalion here, expecting him to either go for the Synthesis or go for the Rapid Spin. He does end up going for the Synthesis, and then I'm going to go for the Bolt Switch into my Reuniclus in hopes that maybe I could try to get up one Calm Mind, and then I could force him into the Bisharp. That way I could have an easier chance of winning this match, not having to worry about the Bisharp. But he reveals to me that he has the U-turn. So because he doesn't have Rapid Spin on Tessarina, I'm thinking that maybe he has Defog on this Latios. So I'm going to switch into my Snorlax either way because it's still my number one switch in to this Latios, because there is a chance he is Life Orb with Defog, which is what I was thinking at this point. But he turns out to have the Calm Mind, which got me a little bit scared, because if he does have Substitute, then this could be a little problematic, because in order for me to get a free switch into my Mamoswine, then I'm gonna have to sack something, and it would have been really nice to keep my Snorlax around for this matchup. But he's gonna go for the Psychic, get a crit and a Spadef drop, and I'm not able to get the paralysis on the Latios, as he's gonna be able to follow up and knock me out with the Draco. I honestly think that he could have just gone for another Psychic, another interruption. But like I said, his better move to go for was probably to go for the Psychic and not the Draco, but I guess in the long run it doesn't really matter what he goes for, because I'm still going to bring in my Mamoswine here, and normally if I was Adamant Life for Mamoswine, he is in range of Ice Shard, so there is the possibility that he's not going to stay in here and actually switch out. Either way though, I'm still Adamant Max Attack Mamoswine, so my Icicle Crash, as long as I don't miss, will probably be able to 2-hit KO anything that he switches in, barring the fact that it's not Keldeo. So I am going to go straight for the Icicle Crash as he brings in the Seismitoad, because I was so tired during this match, it did not click in my mind that Icicle Crash did little to no damage almost, because again, my Mamoswine didn't have any attack EVs during this match. So if I was the normal set that I was supposed, I don't know why I just drew a blank there, but if I was the normal set I was supposed to be with 252, then I would have been able to easily 2-KO this Seismitoad, and I wouldn't have had to worry about it anymore. But this is really the only instance where me not having any attack EVs actually matters, because this Seismitoad is going to be around a lot longer than it really should, and I can't 2-KO him, so I'm going to be forced out, and I have to potentially risk a burn on my Tangrowth if he does have the Scald. So if he did have the rocks, I'm applying enough pressure to where he can't get them up, or he should have got them up this turn that I switched into Tangrowth. So I go for the Leech Seed here, expecting him to want to bring in the Bisharp maybe, or even the Latios, but he does make the safe switch into Tesserina, which doesn't really matter at all because I can just bring back in my Reuniclus, and this is going to be my perfect chance to go for the recover, because I am very positive that he's going to want to go for the Synthesis to try and save his Tesserina, and now is when he most likely will go for the U-turn. So expecting this, I do go for another recover. I was a little bit scared that he would try to bring in the Whimsicott, but then he would have to switch it into a Psychic, which means he would be taking an unnecessary hit. As he brings in the Seismitoad, obviously I can't afford to lose my Colbur Berry on Reuniclus, and I would rather lose the leftovers on my Tangrowth, because at that point, if I lose my Colbur Berry on Reuniclus, Bisharp can just come in, set up an SD, and then he'll be at +2. By losing leftovers on Tangrowth, it still damage rolls on whether or not a Specs Keldeo can 2-KO me. So he's going to knock off my lefties here, and I am just going to pull a double switch into my Mamoswine because he's been switching in Tesserina. So expecting that, I bring back in Melter here, and thanks to the fact that Mamoswine is an absolute monster, even though I don't have any attack EVs, I will be able to knock out the Tesserina as he brings in the Bisharp. I was actually a little bit scared here because this was probably his best chance to try an SD, but the good thing about it is that my Cobalion is still at full HP. So unless he like superpowered here or something, then there was really nothing in the long run that I had to fear, but just at the moment I was a little bit scared that he could try and go for a Swords Dance to potentially break my team down with Bisharp. But he is going to pull a switch out into his Bisharp, not his Bisharp, sorry, but he's going to switch out his Bisharp into Seismitoad here on my close combat, if I'm not mistaken, or is that later in the match? No, so it was a double switch out there, and then I just switched back into my Tangrowth because Tangrowth is by far my 100% switch in for this Seismitoad, which should be gone, but hey, it's not that big of an issue as I lose absolutely nothing by just going for another knockoff, because I'm going to knock off the item on whatever comes in. And here I do have a pretty good answer to this Whimsicott, even if it turns out to be sub Leech Seed, which is what I was thinking because he did go for the substitute. I do have the Magikarp ability, so Leech Seed is not going to be affecting me, and then there's no way he should be able to beat me 1v1 as he does end up getting the special attack drop. It doesn't really matter in the long run of the match because I'm still going to be able to get off a little bit of damage on the Seismitoad, and much like earlier, just going to switch back into my Tangrowth. And even if he wanted to pull a double switch, nothing that he has is going to be able to gain him momentum against what I have to switch into whatever offensive threat he's going to bring in, if you guys get what I'm trying to say. So there I went for the Leech Seed thinking he would bring in the Bisharp, expecting me to knock off. That way I would have the Leech Seed on Bisharp, wear it down a little bit, and then I could still safely switch into my Cobalion, and it would be taking less damage because I would be gaining I would be gaining back Leech Seed recovery, but it's not that big of an issue that I do end up Giga Draining the Bisharp here because I still get off a little bit of damage, and my Cobalion is still at full HP and can still take on this Bisharp 1v1 as he turns out to have the power-up punch, which I was not expecting at all. But honestly, it's not even that big of an issue because I do outspeed him here, and I will knock him out with the close combat, and by far my best move to go for is close combat, as now I knock out the Seismitoad. This is what I was talking about earlier. So down goes the Toad, which is really good because now I'm free to Volt Switch on his entire team, and that's going to be good to gain momentum as he brings in the Keldeo. Now, even if I was max speed Cobalion, there was no way I was staying in against this Keldeo to potentially risk a speed tie, and I do still have Tangrowth at max HP, so I will be able to switch into it this one time and see what he wants to go for, as it turns out that he's life orbed. And actually, the fact that he's life orbed is absolutely amazing, because now every time that he goes for an offensive move, he's going to be putting himself closer and closer to where my Mamoswine can lock itself into Icicle Crash to knock out the Keldeo without me having to worry about him living a hit that I want to go for. Plus, I also have Stealth Rocks up, so along with Life Orb and Rocks, Keldeo is going to be wearing itself down, and because he is Life Orb, there is no way he's going to be able to 2-KO my Tangrowth unless he catches me with 2 Icy Winds or 2 super effective hidden powers. So here I'm in a very good spot of where I can just go for Giga Drain. I could even go for the knockoff or the Leech Seed if I really wanted to, but ultimately I go for the Giga Drain as I catch the incoming Whimsicott. Now, because I'm not going to be at full HP if I stay in against this Whimsicott, I am going to take this chance to switch back into my Reuniclus, which again is my best answer for this Whimsicott. Unfortunately, he does miss the Hurricane, but because Moonblast only did 30%, I think Hurricane probably would have done like 25-ish%, so not that much more than what, or that much less than what Moonblast would have done. So in the long run, I don't think him missing that Hurricane really matters at all, because I'm still going to be able to stay in here and go for the Psychic. Now, even though he didn't show me his Energy Ball, his Encore, I still did not know what his final move was. So yes, I could have gone for the Recover, but then at that point he could have been able to Encore me, brought in the Bisharp to potentially SD, and then that could have gone downhill for me. So in the long run, I think going for the Psychic was definitely my better play to knock out this Whimsicott, and now I no longer have to worry about it, as in comes the Bisharp. At this point, I'm just going to fodder off my Reuniclus, because even though I do have the Colbur Berry, he still is able to knock me out if he is Adamant Max Attack, and I already know that he's Life Orb. So he switches into his Keldeo, as I'm able to get off a little bit of damage with the Hidden Power. Fighting, he's going to knock himself out to Life Orb, allowing me to get a free switch into my Tangrowth, as he does turn out to have the Icy Wind, which is a roll. That's actually another reason why I foddered off my Reuniclus, was because there was no way I could recover on anything that he had left, and again, with me being below 50% HP, Bisharp could have knocked me out with any move that he wanted to go for. So by foddering off my Reuniclus, I get a free switch into my Tangrowth, and now I can safely go for the knockoff, except for the fact that he ended up staying in and going for the Icy Wind. But because I did knock off his Life Orb, there is no way he's going to be able to knock me out here, so I am going to go for the Giga Drain, expecting him to just fodder off the Keldeo, but he switches into the Latios, and this did cross my mind, and I probably should have gone for the Leech Seed if anything, but the only thing with me not predicting Latios there is that it's just going to make this match a little bit longer, and then still fearing that he could maybe have the opportunity to set up, I am going to go for the Toxic. This way I will be able to wear him down and put him in range of where the Icicle Spears from my Mamoswine will be able to finish him off, and I don't have to risk missing Icicle Crash. So I do manage to take that Psychic. I do still have use for Cobalion, because I can still live a Adamant Life Orb Sucker Punch from Bisharp, as I bring in my Jolteon here. Even if he did have the Life Orb, I could have actually lived a Draco Meteor, which is why I made such an aggressive switch into my Jolteon, because I want to go ahead and hit this with the Shadow Ball, and with toxic damage still racking up, there was a chance I could have knocked him out with the combination of Shadow Ball and Toxic. So that is what I'm going to go for, as he brings in the Bisharp. And you know how I said this thing wouldn't be a problem unless I gave him a free opportunity to SD, or I activated his Shadow Ball, which I wasn't going to do? Well, you know what happens? I lower his Spadef, and he gets the Defiant boost. Now, the good thing about this is that he only has one Life Orb hit left, and when I was live narrating this, I was a little bit scared. I was panicking a little bit, because I thought that maybe he could have had a chance to win, but I honestly don't need my Cobalion at this point. So if I really wanted to, I could have gone for the Toxic or the Stealth Rock to play around him Sucker Punching, but at this point, Cobalion is knocked out by Psychic from Latios, and it's knocked out by any move from Keldeo. So, like I said, it doesn't really matter what move I go for here, except he actually thought I would not go for the offensive move, and he overpredicts, allowing me to save my Cobalion, which is nice as he brings in the Keldeo. I am Scarfed Mamoswine with enough speed to outspeed Timid max speed Whimsicott, which is faster than Timid max speed Keldeo, and because he has Life Orb and not Scarfed, I will be able to outspeed him here, reveal to him that I am Scarfed, finishing off the Keldeo. While this does give him a free recover with Latios, with him being toxic and me still having my Tangrowth, all I really need to do is pivot around this or fodder off my Cobalion and let toxic damage rack up a little bit. That way I can have an easier chance of winning the matchup with Icicle Spear and me not having to risk Icicle Crash missing. So I do go for the knockoff there on the off chance that he wanted to try and go for the Draco. I then switch into my Cobalion here, mainly as death fodder, because there's no way he's going to go for another recover in this scenario, because I can't just go for the Volt Switch into my Mamoswine. So after he knocks out Cobalion, I will be able to bring in Melter here and knock him out with the Icicle Spear, and that is going to be the 2-0 victory in the Durham Druddigons' favor. So yeah, it's very, very good that there was no crucial scenario of where me not having attack EVs on Mamoswine really came into play. Like I said, only the matchup against Seismitoad is where me not having max attack mattered, because I would have been able to knock him out with 2 Icicle Crashes, and then I wouldn't have had to deal with Toad. But it didn't matter in the long run, and Mamoswine was still able to put in so much work in this game. So I hope you guys did enjoy the match, and if you did, make sure to hit the like button down below, guys, and to leave a comment as well. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow. Actually, I have an update video going up tomorrow, so I would really like it if you guys could watch that. But yeah, guys, thank you all for watching. Later, everybody.